Hello everyone, I'm Charlie Tolhurst and welcome to a YouTube video for today on the 25th of March. Now, I am going to be talking about the review of the week's headlines. And I want to start by talking about a week of whirlwind news from the coronavirus pandemic. Now, I want to start by talking about what's been happening across Europe and across the EU. Now, this video will be all about the EU's vaccine rollout. Now, as you would have seen throughout this week, the European Union has had a huge surge in coronavirus infections and coronavirus cases across much of Europe. France have put Paris under a strict lockdown. As well, Poland are in partial lockdown, and Italy are going to go into lockdown, full national lockdown over Easter, with some regions, including the north of Italy, of Lombardy, moving to the highest alert level. But the big news of last week has been the EU's vaccine route with Britain. Now, from someone coming from the UK who left the EU, remember, last year, I honestly don't understand what happened over the last week with this vaccine route. It was pedantic. It is clear that Ursula von der Leyen has a strategy to impact our vaccine rollout. And I don't understand that from nearly 29 million people in England, or in the UK, that have now received the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, and I'm now one of those people who have been vaccinated, to hear the EU then say they're going to try and block exports of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine, in my opinion, was absolutely ridiculous. This is something that shouldn't have happened. The EU claim they want to get a fair share of vaccines. They've got to really start looking straight here. And in this little week, and the big news from this week in review video is the EU have dominated the week, and it's clear that Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, is now starting to get very berated. I think her polling rates are going to drop the way she's carrying on. It's clear that the EU are not happy with AstraZeneca over signing a contract to fulfil their obligations. They claim that AstraZeneca don't publish their dates correctly or something. And this is all manipulated stuff the EU are talking about. It's manipulation. It's very much causing issues for AstraZeneca. And no wonder why they suspended the rollout of so many of their vaccines a couple of weeks ago. Because I don't understand why they've done that. It was absolutely ridiculous what has been happening, and I can't believe that von der Leyen has absolutely ridiculed her own commission over this issue. So that has been in the news this week. The EU certainly are having a hard time with their vaccine rollout. In fact, their vaccine rollout, compared to ours, they are nowhere near us. They are doing so terribly in that area, and it's something that is very much a concern. Now, I want to now move on from the EU and talk about the Coronavirus Act 2020 on this video. Now, the government are looking at extending the Coronavirus Act for another 6 months, and today there was a vote in Parliament and it passed. I think it was something like 476 votes to 76. 76 Tory MPs rebelled against the government, and there was plenty of speeches today, powerful anti-lockdown speeches from the likes of Sir Desmond Swayne, Mark Harper, Sir Charles Walker, and I'm sure Graham Brady, also from the chair of the 1922 committee, also joining in on the bandwagon. But it's very clear now that for another 6 months, this act will remain in law, in government. It will remain part of royal assent. It is a temporary legislation, so it will expire at any time. But for a start, this law is very controversial. The Coronavirus Act is a bill that allows ministers to impose a measure of proportion on our freedoms. And I mean, to extend this is just a bit. I think it's crazy. Personally, I understand why they want to have it in place, but with more people getting vaccinated, do you need to have severe restrictions, draconian severe restrictions in place? We're being robbed of our freedoms, robbed of our liberties. This act is, in my opinion, manipulating the country. I completely understand some Tory MPs who are quite fed up with this, and I'm certainly fed up with this act now. But to extend it to the end of September, or the end towards October, really, I mean, that's a long time. And if you think about it, okay, I know the furlough scheme's on until September, but on the 21st of June, on this roadmap to freedom, we're meant to have all of our social contact limits removed. All social contact restrictions lifted. What if we lift all of the restrictions, which we're going to probably do ahead of the EU anyway, because of how badly their vaccine rollout's going? Why is it that this act is still going to remain in place? Could it be in the winter that, yes, the government are going to impose more restrictions? Or are they going to just say, right, we are going to make face masks compulsory in that place and in this place? It just gets really boring, and it feels like we are being run by an authoritarian state. It feels like we're running under a dictatorship. If you know what I mean, this Coronavirus Act bill it's very controversial. I understood why it was needed last year, because we had no idea what this virus was like, and it has been on for a long time now. And I have to say, some of this bill is very, very confusing, in that, government gives power to local councils to shut down premises, bars, restaurants, pubs, can even shut down, limit gatherings. I understand that a virus is out there, but we have to be realistic that many of our freedoms will be long gone, and many businesses are going to crash. So it's clear that there is an issue with this act. So I personally, if I voted, I would have voted against this act, so being extended. So that was being my opinion, but let me know down your opinions down in the comments. Do you think the Coronavirus Act 2020 should have been extended? And what was your opinion on that? Let me know down in the comments. So yeah, certainly that was the big news of today. That was done in Parliament over the last week. Now, obviously, Europe are in a third wave at the moment, and it's clear that I think Boris is going to have to go stricter at the border with France to stop more new variants coming in, or particularly testing lorry drivers. So, and so I clearly think that the extending this Coronavirus Act is very interesting. I understand. I think the removal of all limited restrictions on the 29th of March is very interesting. I understand why some people are a little bit confused about this. So that's the Coronavirus Act bill. Now, the final thing I want to touch on before I round up this video is something that is being spoke about in the news today, and that is vaccine passports. Now, I myself have been vaccinated with the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. Okay, I've done a video. You can check out that video on my channel about when I first received my COVID-19 vaccine. But vaccine passports is something that will need a debate, because let's be honest with you, this Coronavirus Act, let's be honest with you, ministers don't hold debates. They announce things without any parliamentary scrutiny, and something like this has to be debated, vaccine passports, because it's clear that what Boris Johnson said today about vaccine passports was, I thought, quite interesting, and it's going to cause a lot of controversy today. Basically, the Prime Minister says that if you go to the pub, you may have to be requiring a compulsory vaccination. You may have to have a vaccine passport. Now, that's fine if you're travelling around the world and you have to go through airport security. But to the pub, I mean, that is crazy. I mean, I understand why the government are planning on doing this, but to a pub, I mean, is this some sort of dystopian? Are we living in a dystopian society here? Are we living in a society that's been reprogrammed by ministers of the universe or something? Because I honestly think there are people in pubs. Are these pub owners? Are these people who are working in pubs going to get vaccinated? Are people in this pub going to have to require ID subscription? It is all over the place. And I know this hasn't even been announced yet. But when I expect pubs to reopen in May, as part of step 3 indoors of easing this roadmap, is there going to be any plan to say that will they have to be compulsory vaccine passports? I mean, this is frankly really ludicrous. I think the more people that get vaccinated, the more that this becomes a bit of an incoherence. But I understand very much that vaccine passports should be allowed if you're travelling abroad. And this is very much why we are living in a world at the moment that is very dark and certainly very interesting. And I honestly think vaccine passports is going to be interesting. We had a few people today, I think Nigel Farage, of the former leader of Reform UK and the former Brexit Party leader, actually was on Talk Radio earlier today and actually criticised Mr. Johnson for announcing the vaccine passports in pubs. I mean, what are these pub landlords going to think of this? This is a nightmare. This is a huge nightmare. And I'm sure to control this is going to be very difficult. And I'm sure if they're going to want to extend this act, is policing going to have to be used at the pub? Certainly to check people who are vaccinated. This is a very, very novel idea that has been, I'm sure, going to be met with outrage from many MPs, including some Tory backbench MPs like Mark Harper, who I'm sure are going to be pretty fuming with this, let's be said. So that is the video. That's my video for today. If you have any questions about what I've just mentioned about in the week in news, you can let me know down in the comments below. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I will alert you with new videos as soon as I get them. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Take care. Goodbye.